Hello, everybody, and welcome back to A Storyteller's Role. I'm your host, David Lanier, and this is our fifth installment of making Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, into a template for a D&D adventure, or, well, any tabletop role-playing game that you might want to smash it into. But we're going to use Dungeons and Dragons. Specifically, I'm going to use the 2014 edition because that's the latest edition that I'm familiar with. You can use it with any edition of Dungeons and Dragons as far as I know, but I don't know the latest edition in the 2025. That being said, we're going to create a story using what we learned. We're going to keep people on the edge and we're going to use it just like the stuff we learned in Star Wars. So, what did we learn from Star Wars? Well, we learned that it has a 7 point plot structure. We learned that it has 3 acts. The 3 acts are broken down into 7 beats per act, so a total of 21 beats. We learned about the Schacter Singer principle, which is important for us as entertainers. The Schacter Singer principle takeaway for us as entertainers, which is extremely important, which I keep mentioning, works like this. When you have a physiological response to a stimulus, you are more likely to attribute the stimulus as the cause of your physiological experience rather than past trauma, drama, or other experiences that it reminds you of. This is important because sometimes people give false attributions to what they really are experiencing and why they're experiencing it. Police officers would tell you this all the time when they ask for a witness account. First responders, same thing. So let's break it down. A story has 7 plot structures that we're going to be concerning ourselves about as we outline the emotional arc of our story. Because of the Schacter Singer principle, we can hijack the audience's emotional content for this portion of the 120 minutes to 3 hours, so 2 to 3 hours of gameplay that we have at our table. But we need to be aware of the mathematics behind it, the game structure, the story structure. How does that work? That's not taught in the books. They tell you how to create a world. They tell you what things to do. They give you some tidbits and advice, and they give you all sorts of it, little tricks and tips. But most people gloss over that and don't read it. And then there's descriptions of magic items, and most people just read those and then dole out magic like it was candy. But most people don't read the books. So we have the hook. We have plot point 1. We have pinch 1, midpoint. We have plot point or pinch 2, plot point 2, and resolution. Those are our 7 plot structures that we're going to talk about. We're going to go briefly review of them. The hook is what brings us into the game. Plot point 1 is when our hero or villain, if we're telling a villain story, but our hero learns that they have something that is unique and will get them to go on their journey. They're introduced to their uniqueness, and this starts them on a journey, but they are reluctant to start their journey because it means they need to take a break from their old lives. In order for them to take on the torch of the new generation and to be the new hope and to be our hero, we need to break as much as we can all the things that keep them tied to their old world. And that's what we're doing now. We're going old world, new world. Here you go. It's kind of like that moment when Henry Rollins got that call from Black Flag and he said, "What do I do now?" And they said, "You get rid of all your shit, you pack up a suitcase, and you meet us in fucking Hollywood." Dungeons and Dragons is a tabletop role-playing game, is a tabletop role-playing game about telling stories in worlds of swords and sorcery. This is a quote directly from the 2014 Player's Handbook about what Dungeons and Dragons is, and it's in the introduction. I'm going to step away for a moment and let you read it, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to change the picture, and we'll see how well I can quote it. The Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game is about storytelling in worlds of swords and sorcery. It shares elements of games of pretend and make-believe, like games we played as children. And much like those childlike games, D&D is about picturing yourself in front of this castle in the stormy night sky and the role of an adventurer and responding to the elements that scene presents. Now, I'm paraphrasing it. I'm not quoting it directly on purpose. It really says the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game is a storytelling in worlds and swords of sorcery. It shares elements with games of make-believe, like those games. D&D is with childlike make-believe. Like those games, D&D is imagination. It's driven by the imagination. All you need is a map. This map started with uh, down right by the cold marshes, Saunders Point, just over my shoulder. And that's all we cared about was Saunders Farm. It grew into the rest of the map with the explanation and the rest that the players figured out. The hook for this adventure that I created for that map created this. And the hook was something's going on at Saunders Farm. And the players go, "Why is this happening?" And I go, "You don't know. It doesn't matter. This is happening. This is now. This is what's no, we want to know why." Okay, well, then I had to create an abbey so they could go do some research and find out why things were happening and so on and so on and so on. Meanwhile, my adventure was Saunders Farm. The rest of this is their stuff. I have no clue as to where they're going. They are so off the rails of the adventure that I originally designed and created that we're not even playing the same game. We're not playing the same story. But I like the story that they're running, so I incorporated their story into mine. And I did a lot of thinking, and I took about 2 weeks off and I wrote stuff and I incorporated their elements into mine. And this is what we have, a co-created adventure. And it's a lot of fun. But we'll get you all there. So we have the hook. That's where we start our adventure. We have the plot point one. That's where we ramp up our hero, and our hero doesn't want to go anywhere. So we take stuff away. We take their candy away. That's when Uncle Ben dies and Spider-Man loses his mind and realizes that with great power comes great responsibility. That's probably the best quote I've ever heard from Stan Lee. With great power comes great responsibility. And he had to learn that the hard way. It was tragic. Let's see, who else can we use as a pinch example? We're doing Star Wars, but we know the pinch with Star Wars, that's when Luke learns that he has the Force within him, and that happens about 18 to 20 minutes into the show. So let's see. What are we thinking? It's when Popeye learns that spinach makes him strong. It's when Superman learns that he's got superpowers. It's, you know, and then they have no point of returning to their home because Bluto stole olive oil. Lois is in danger. Um, you go back and they know the droids that they're looking for are yours. And you just didn't happen to be home when they served the notice. But they want those droids. Plot point one drives us, it shoves us into the midpoint. It shoves our hero into the action and it shoves us towards the midpoint. How did that midpoint start to unravel for Luke? It started to unravel when he realized he couldn't go home. He has to go on this grand adventure with Obi-Wan. So he says, screw it. I might as well sell the land speeder and go. I got nothing here. Let's go. He's in shock. We'll give him that. There wasn't much else about Uncle Owen. We didn't really care. There was no really, homage to Uncle Owen more than just a brief kind of with Luke in a scene, him burying whatever he had to bury and then him moving the fuck on. The rest of the story, we don't even hear about Uncle Owen. So he probably didn't really have much, you know, for Uncle Owen. And I guess we shouldn't either. Let's go with Uncle Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Uncle Obi-Wan Kenobi is the old wizard, and we're going to go with him. And we get to the cantina, and at the cantina, we have some guards, and the guards say, we need to check those droids and blah, 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 blah. Obi-Wan shows that he has the force powers. That's a pipe. It has to happen. Story structure, pipe, it has to happen. Otherwise, you don't wonder what the rest of the force can do. This magic Jedi power, you don't have any wondering what it can do until it's demonstrated. And this is the first time we really see it demonstrated. Luke has something he wants to learn. This scene has to happen. It must succeed. There are no die rolls. That's how we know when there should be die rolls because we outlined it ahead of time and we know this is a pipe. By knowing the emotional story structure of the adventure you're telling, right? You know when die rolls are necessary and when die rolls are not necessary. And that's the promise I made to you in the first episode of this series I made about a year ago. So if you can find that one, right, you can find all the promises I made to you, and I'm keeping them. The midpoint is usually when we have that twist, that turn, and we start the heroes on their actual journey towards taking the reins of the fight and bringing the fight to the evil bad guy. Notice I didn't say big bad evil guy because the big bad evil guy was big bad when we were learning how to level up. But we learned that we have the force within us. We learned the princess is on the Death Star. We learned that Obi-Wan is going to go get that tractor force beam down and we're going to leave on the Millennium Falcon, which is capable of light speed travel, which at the time seemed faster than anything anyone could go. So we went, okay, it's capable of light speed travel. Cool. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew, the stormtroopers, the evil guys, right, are becoming downplayed. They're lessened, right? First thing we realize is because of those helmets, they shoot, their blasters don't hit much very well. They don't shoot very straight. And even though they shoot and they get close, they don't really hit anybody or anything, right? We learned that we're in the trash compactor and the heat is on. The heat of the soup, the proverbial soup, is up. We don't know if they are going to succeed in getting off the Death Star, let alone succeed in getting the plans off the Death Star to the Rebel Alliance. The movie itself might freaking fail right here. Oh, but we're going to make it worse. At our midpoint, we introduce Princess Leia because she is the princess. She is the reason we're bringing everybody together. But we have to have another motivation for the dashing rogue and barbarian to continue with our story. Otherwise, they're going to buck out of there and they're going to take their Millennium Falcon with them and all hope will be dashed. So we have a dramatic beat between Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, where Luke Skywalker says, well, she's a princess, she's pretty, you might want to. And Han Solo knows that Luke is the one that wants the princess, so he's kind of like, no, I don't think so, kid. I don't think so. No, pretty girls, they're a dime a dozen. I can get a pretty girl anywhere. Yeah, yeah. What else you got? I got bills to pay. I got things to do. Sorry, kid. She's a princess. She's loaded. You got a point there. How loaded? She's a princess. It could be bazillions. I owe a lot of money. Oh, you'll make a lot of money. I assure you that. Well, if there's going to be a lot of money, I'll be okay, but we got to get the tractor beam down, in order for me to get this money. So, what do you suggest with that? Where is she? She's in one of these cells. We got to rescue the princess. Come on, I got money to get. I mean, a princess to save. Cha-ching, cha-ching. Didn't take much to convince him, did it? Chewie is going to follow Han, so, Luke Skywalker meets the princess. The princess realizes he's not a stormtrooper. They escape into the trash compactor. Heat is up, right? Meanwhile, Obi-Wan is going to let the tractor beam down, and Darth Vader recognizes the presence of Obi-Wan, his old master, and goes to confront Obi-Wan. We have this big scene as they're trying to escape, and we have pitch two. Obi-Wan dies. No die rolls. It's not a pipe. It's a pinch. Pinch two. Obi-Wan dies. This is necessary to give what? Our new hope. Obi-Wan resembles the old hope. The new hope, the torch is now passed. We have a level up at pinch two. At pinch two, right after our midpoint, level up. Reward your players immediately, level up. Buzzing, level them up, do a recap like they did on the ship, have a little bit of a battle fight, right, to give them a reason for the level up and say, okay, after that fight, you guys level up with your new powers, right? So you give them their new powers, and then you have a little fight so they can level up with their new powers, and you let them try out their new powers a little bit. And as they're doing that, you give them a recap of what had happened was, and what they got to do was, and what they are doing now is this. Because at the midpoint, we usually introduce a B story, we introduce a love interest, but we didn't have that too much with Obi-Wan, or not Obi-Wan, with old Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia and Han Solo, because we had Han Solo and Luke Skywalker with that, will they, won't they? But Luke was too young at the time. So it didn't really work out, right? So they had to have some realistic tension or whatever. And they had to have the kid more focused on, his Jedi knightness. He's too polite to hit on the princess. He's waiting for her to make the first move. Meanwhile, we know our dashing rogue is going to make the first move. He knows how to deal with a naive princess. You don't want to know what we do. So that's a different set of videos. That's called the pimp game, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a different set of videos. Let's talk about the midpoint and pinch two. So we're at pinch two. Obi-Wan dies. Our plot point, our plot twist, right? Where we're going to have some hope and we're going to have some fear and we're going to have the last clutches before success comes. And we're going to have them get to the point where they go, you know what? We have another level up. You're going to be third level. This is your reward in the resolution. And we're going to have a sequel, right? This is when we've really passed the torch and we're demonstrating that we've passed the torch and everything is a okay. The new kids on the block got it. This is the moment when the heat is really on. The Rebel Alliance is about to go blow up the Death Star. We already have the plans. Luke is bragging about how badass he is. He's leading a squadron. They're tearing it up, boy. They're going in after it. They got TIE fighters on their six and they're blowing stuff away. People are dying. It's very tense. It's very intense. And then all of a sudden, his wingmen get blown away and he gets dinged and R2 goes offline, blue screaming to death. And he has no navigation systems. He doesn't know what to do. And Darth Vader is breathing on his back, boy. And Darth Vader knows how to use the Force, and Darth Vader is about to kill Luke Skywalker because Darth Vader don't care. Bam! Returning from faster than light travel. Millennium's Falcon comes, dings Darth Vader's TIE fighter and says, "You got this, kid," and buggers out. Meanwhile, Darth Vader, right, fails his roll, and that is going to be necessary. So he rolls with disadvantage. He will go off somewhere, right? So that Luke can focus on what he needs to do, blow this up. But how am I going to do this without a navigation system? Bing! Bring back Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan comes in and says, use the Force. Use the Force. Luke goes, Obi-Wan, is that you? Yes, use the Force. Yeah. Boom. Death Star blows up. Resolution. Sequel, Empire Strikes Back. I hope that helped you understand the 7-point plot structure. I hope that example and me showing you rather than telling you, or showing and telling you, like we learned in grade school, kindergarten, show and tell. I hope that helped you. I hope these videos are helping you create in your mind a better structure for stories and storytelling and for your games. So let's look at what we're going to do now. Let's look at how we're going to create a template with that structure and without using blasters and the psionics of mind telekinesis, whatever stuff. Instead, let's bring it back to the swords and sorcery part of D&D, right? In order to do that, I have to kind of explain something to you. So let me explain it to you right now. We have in D&D something called well, we have dragons, but we have what's called a Tarask. Now, a Tarask, I'm going to move out the way so you can see it, looks like that. And as you can see, the townsfolk are terrified, right? Because here is this thing that is impervious to all harm. It's like Godzilla. Whoa, no, there goes Habito. Go, 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 Tarasco! Ooh, Tarask. These things are immune to poison, they're immune to harm, they're immune to physical damage, they're immune to anything that isn't magical weaponry. They have a hide thicker than you can imagine. They are immune to fear, mind control, and psionic attack, telepathic attack, whatever. And when they get pissed off, they just go. They destroy anything in their path. Right? Now, to make things interesting, and because we're still in the month of February, we're gonna make this a Valentine's Day special. Because who doesn't love Saint Valentine, who had his head chopped off and he was tortured brutally? And oh wait, it's about love. Oh, okay, we'll throw in a love interest. Don't worry, we'll throw in. Yeah, we'll appease the audience. Don't worry, kid, we got this. Now we're gonna start with the hook. In Star Wars, you notice that the main character, the main hero, Luke Skywalker, he isn't introduced until somewhere around 15 to 20 minutes, 18 minutes, 12 minutes, somewhere. He's introduced way late. I'll find out the exact timing for you later, but right now he's introduced way late. We just don't know anything about him, right? We're introduced to an NPC, the princess, and she's kidnapped, so we gotta save her. Yay. Okay. Well, that's gonna be fun. And then we got to go after let's see what was it, what was the plot again? Okay, I read a lot of books, so hold on. It was one of these books. There was a plot structure. It was a Western. There was pew pew. Oh, the princess was taken, and then she gave the plans for the Death Star to, oh, the bard and the cleric, or the rogue and the cleric, or the rogue and the bard. You could use those two too if you have that combo. Um, and they're gonna go off and do what now? They're gonna rescue the princess? Oh hell, no, they ain't gonna rescue no princess. How they gonna rescue a princess? They gotta recruit the rest of the party. So we can't have them go and rescue no princess. They're gonna have to meet at least a paladin or something, and they low level, so they ain't gonna make it and meet no high level paladin. They're gonna meet somebody on their turf. So let's see, we need to find like a first level paladin that they can meet. Somebody who can barely do anything. Let's see who we got here. Ooh, Farm Boy Walton. Farm Boy Walton, we could use you. Why don't you come on over here? He's like, well, I'm on the farm and I'm milking goats and herding cats. And you don't understand. It's more important for me to stay on the farm with Uncle Owen and herd these cats than it is for me to go off on any kind of grand adventure. I don't know what I should do, sir. Right? This is the feeling we want to engender in our audience of players at the table. So, going back, we're going to take a Tarask. The Tarask is controlled by this evil empire. I will leave it to you to name the evil empire. We'll call it to be determined for now. So, the evil empire, to be determined for now, will be in control of this Tarask. Somehow they found a way to control it. They found a way to use it as a weapon, right? And the good people of the village of to be determined later uh, will have to get the plans for how they can control the Tarask, right, to our heroes somehow. So How do we hook everybody in? How do we start this off? Let me think. Got it. Hear me out. We take the rogue. He's always up to something. She's always up to something. They're always doing something, right? Rogues do roguish things, right? I mean, you don't become a rogue just because whatever, right? So let's suppose that the town, the village, the peaceful town of to be determined later, the peaceful village. Oh man, this is getting difficult. Okay, this is getting big. This is getting beyond us. Hold up, hold up. Let's roll some dice or something. Let's make up something. No, 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 we don't need to do that. We got a template. We got a template. We got Star Wars. We can do this. Let's think. All right. So the rogue did something, and the village of Everlast Farms? No, no, no. Elysium Fields? No, no. To be determined later. You guys figure it out. Put a comment down below, and that'll help me. Anyway, this small farming village, which is being attacked by this evil empire to be named and determined also by you in the comments below, uh, is running a freight train right through the village and destroying it. So, our hook for the cleric and the thief, the cleric and the rogue. Yes, let's use the cleric and the rogue because they're supporting roles. They're supporting roles in any D&D group. They're supporting roles in any D&D party. They're supporting roles in general. They're supporting roles, and we're going to give the supporting roles introduction first, but we're going to start them with some action. So we're going to start them in the middle of everything happening with this Taras coming through the city and destroying everything. And we're going to give them reason to want to help that village because the village gave aid and succor, right? Village gave aid and succor to the rogue, right? And hid the rogue when the heat was on, right? And so now the rogue sort of owes the village, right? And the cleric knows the secret. The cleric knows the secret of controlling the Tarask, but in order to control the Tarask, they have to get these special berries from a secret location to be disclosed later. Right now, he just knows the location of it and he knows a certain secret that will help. But he doesn't have the ability to get there or anything. And they entrusted him with the secret because they can trust a cleric, a man of a deity, right? A man of faith, as opposed to a rogue, even though the rogue owes them, right? So there's that. And then we're going to add the mayor of this village, right? His daughter is kidnapped, right? And she's gorgeous, but she's kidnapped, and the mayor is rich. So he offers a big reward if you can save his daughter. This should get enough people going, right? And now we leave a missive. We make a missive. We take a piece of paper and we dye it in some tea, some weak tea, and we then dry it out and we take an iron, right? And we iron it out a little bit and make it look a little roughed parchment on the edges. And then we take a black marker and we write on there somewhere in cursive or whatever. We can use brown, you can use paints, you can do all sorts of things, but you create a nice little parchment message, please, good people of blank, 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 help us, blah, 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 right? Give that as a prop handout to your players. You can use a picture. If you're at a table, use a real piece of paper, but take a real piece of paper and take a picture of it so it looks real to the people when you hand a prompt. Don't make it look too professional. More professional it is, the less it is going to draw your audience. You want something that your audience has to attribute stuff onto themselves. You want to engage them in their minds. We then take that prop and we say, here you go, you rogue and your cleric. Here you go. You go and you go find the rest of the party and you go recruit them. And that's when we put our DM hat on and we start listening and we think about what they're saying in their little conversations, because they're going to give us, each one of them, right, their plot point pinched one. They're going to give us reason for why they should go adventuring. They're going to give us reason for why they need to go or what reward they want in the game. And we're going to write down what rewards they want and what, reasoning they have. We're going to write down some points. Okay. We'll get to why and what we're doing there in episode 6. But for now, we have enough. So let's review. We went over the plot point structure. We briefly covered Schacter Singer and why it's important. I will go over that again and again. We understand that our main heroes are not right now going to be Luke Skywalker and the rest of them, but our main heroes are going to be an NPC that gets captured. We can even show that capture scene if we want. We're going to engage our audience by giving them a prop. Our hook is that the town, right, performed a service for the rogue and the rogue owes them. And the cleric is the only one who knows the secret to controlling to Tarask, but has been sworn to secrecy until he gets to the right place and can deliver it to the right people. So those two are going to recruit the rest of the party. And we have our actual hook for the audience, the story, whatever's happening. We have that Tarask destroying the entire town, to be determined and named later. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is your improv class 101 chaining. And don't let Viola Spolin down. Put down in the comments, like, share, and subscribe, right? Hit the notification bell, but put down in the comments, please, what is the name of the village that is being destroyed by the Tarask? What is the name of the evil empire that controls the Tarask? Let's come up with something creative. See you next time in the Funny Papers. Until then, may all your die rolls stay blessed.